Our very special guest on the show this morning, former Miss South Africa, Miss Universe Demi-Leigh Tebow, back in SA.
I am so happy to be back. Thank you guys for having me.
These days you must live in Florida.
Yes, a good amount. But my family's still back here, Martin, so I try to be back as much as often.
The best of both worlds.
I would say so.
Yeah, you must originally from Sedgefield. Beautiful part of the world. So Klein, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Current Miss SA, not far from there. She's from Oudtshoorn.
Oudtshoorn. I'm not sure exactly which high school she went to, but Oudtshoorn was like our biggest rivalry in high school.
Oh, is it?
Oudtshoorn always big rugby games.
Oh, is
big,
it?
Yes.
They're big rugby school.
Oudtshoorn gets warm.
Witty.
Let's not make a mistake.
Kyk, hy volstrys 'n gaap mos so. She's all there's the stand. Listen, your book, it was a great read because it just contains gems and things that we should never forget, and it's very helpful. I really do think people should pick up and read your book. It's called A Crown That Lasts. The first bit that really got to me, and it kind of speaks to what you wrote here on the cover, you are not your label. And the particular point is identify unreliable identity labels and replace them with truth. Now, if there were ever a part in the history of humankind where this could be more helpful and constructive, it is now, because we all live lies on social media.
That's so true.
And people also don't know what to make of labels. And by label, I mean not just Miss South Africa or Miss Universe, mother.
Yes.
Yeah.
Husband, dad. Those are all
Business
labels.
owner.
Business
Yes.
owner, CEO, or just, whatever your title is at work. Those are all labels.
Yeah.
You're so much more than just that.
Martin, I think for me personally, I had to realize, what my identity is rooted in far beyond the temporary things that I attach to my identity, those labels. And, when you think of like the labels that we get to wear, some labels we actually like wearing, and what do you do when those labels you like wearing fall away too? So we talk a lot about the labels we don't want to wear and the labels we like wearing and what we do when they're no longer there. What is that next step for me personally? When I handed over my crown as Miss Universe, I faced like such a big, oh my goodness, what do I have to show up for now that everything I showed up for the last, year plus is no longer there? And it took me a while to really fully understand who I was created to be.
Okay.
And that took some time. It sent me into a really long waiting season. I have a whole chapter about that waiting season.
Getting to that next.
Yeah.
I liked it. I really liked it. You explained it you described it very nicely. So I can imagine. So for a whole year, you are Miss Universe. You have a manager, you have security, right?
Yep.
Car door gets open for you, you've got a ride, you've got people who make it their business to know your business.
What also appointment sets for you, so your day's kind of planned for you.
Right?
Yeah.
Then you arrive on stage that night, and then they go, the new Miss Universe is this person. Yeah. And I love the way you described it. Then you see your people walk past you to the new person.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
And then you had to find your way back to your dressing room because someone brought you to stage.
Yeah.
And you weren't paying attention how to get back there.
I wasn't paying attention. It was just, Demi, please come here. Demi, go there. And, Martin, so many people can tell you how to chase your dreams, how to, what book to read. I did so much training to prepare for Miss Universe just for that whole year. But I didn't put in a lot of time planning for the after, planning for that next step. And, okay, maybe not everybody can relate to wearing a crown and a sash and a beautiful ball gown, but maybe you can relate to that career move or maybe that unrealized dream, that you've been working so hard for, and maybe it's just not realizing, but where to now? And so it was just, my book, I can't say it's a perfect roadmap to figuring all of these big questions out of life, but I hope that it inspires and enables my readers to go and find their God-given purpose and to live out that purpose with confidence every single day.
I think it's a great GPS. Yeah. I really, really do. It'll offer you alternative routes and also make you just realize, kind of just think about your journey in a different way. Just getting back to the point of the labels and making it, for me, what is relatable about it, even if you're a parent, you become so-and-so's mom, and then that kid probably turns 10, 11, 12, and it goes on, and then you got to think to yourself, but who am I again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because now I'm not just so-and-so's mom.
Yes.
Yeah.
What am I again? Am
have
I
to
also
remember.
I'm also a wife or a
sister, a friend.
sister, or a keen artist.
Yes.
Yeah. What do I like?
What do I like?
That's right.
Who am I again? I think it's more relatable than you think.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that so much. You know, even like being a wife, being a husband, you know, those are only things that we get to use as a vessel to live out our purpose. They are not our ultimate purpose. I see our relationships, our roles that we play, our accolades, our prizes as a vessel, as a platform.
Sure. Yeah. Listen, this book of yours is full of clangers. I love some of these quotes. It really gets you thinking, like, unfortunately, the two most important things in life do not develop fast: character and relationship. Because we're in an instant world, instant food, instant gratification, instant likes on social media. But the two things that take long are character and relationships, and those are the only two things you take with you when you're gone.
Wow.
So, and yet we don't want to spend time. Sometimes we spend time on nonsense.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolute nonsense.
And the crown that I'm talking about that does last, obviously it's a little bit of play on words of the crown I wore that did not last. You know, ek sit nie hier nou met my kroon op my kop nie. But, you know, what are the things that we get to invest in, that we get to pour into every single day, that get to have an everlasting impact?
Yeah.
And it's relationships, it's people.
Those are the things that are left behind.
That's right. That's right. And
Your legacy will be that, the relationships that you've made.
Yeah.
And Martin, you know, something I write about in my book too is how fearful I was, thinking that I'm not good enough to make an impact, that I thought I had to do something completely, you know, out of the ordinary, out of the box, donate $1 bajillion to actually have an impact. But then you realize, no, we all have skills, we all have you know, talents, we all have things that we get to add to this world, that we get to contribute to this world. And never ever ever underestimate the ripple effect of goodness that can come from one simple act of obedience. You know, one simple act of obedience to love another person, to stand up for another person, to be there for somebody in need. And you know, we can all add to people's lives in small ways.
In your case, it must have been, are people still going to like me and think I'm important if I'm not current Miss Universe or Miss South Africa? For other people, it may be, are people still going to think I'm important and worth inviting over if I'm not the CEO or the driver of the nice car, or the parent of the rugby captain? You know what I'm saying? It's like those kind of things. We measure ourselves against things that other people may not even really see.
Yeah.
Other people may think that's not the most important thing about you.
Right.
But you must have feared that, right?
For
Handing
sure.
back that crown, what now? Are people still going to want me around?
The thing that, like, you know, I felt like people wanted to invite me to be in the room for, you know, was no longer there. It was that label was stripped away. And like I said, sent me into such a really deep waiting season that felt like a wasted season. It just felt like time was passing, nothing good was happening. And you know, I think I titled this chapter to work through the wait, because in that waiting season you can still have an impact. You can still make that waiting season not a wasted season by continuing to work through that waiting season. And two ways that I worked through that waiting season, I write a whole chapter about this, but I'll give you two practical takeaways, was to go and serve other people. Because what happens when you serve somebody else is you take the pressure off of yourself, you take the eyes off of yourself, and you're putting the focus on somebody else. And the second thing was to surround myself with people. This is actually something I didn't do in that waiting season that I wish I had done, is I did not have a strong community of friends. I didn't have people that pointed me back to the truth every single time I would plant, you know, weeds of doubt. I didn't have those people that were like, no, Demi, that's not the truth. This is the truth. Don't be focused on those lies, on the doubt, on those insecurities. You know, and I'm thankful to have that group of people now. It would have been much easier if I had them. And you know, the thing about like a waiting season is you don't always know when to expect it, right? A lot of times it's unexpected. And that's why I think it's so important to prepare for those moments even in the good times, to nurture those relationships even in the good times, so that when, we know that we are going to face trials and tribulations. It's a guarantee. So how can we prepare for those trials and tribulations?
So smart.
Very smart. I think what I'm also picking up here, Demi, though, is the ability to be vulnerable, though. Not necessarily even with others, but with yourself, and go, okay, I have to be honest and vulnerable with myself. This is scary. I don't know what's happening. And then reach out, like you say, have the community around you to go, I can't do this right now.
100%.
Can you help?
So smart. She met this lovely man as well.
Yeah, interesting. Must have helped.
Looks like
I'm a little biased, but I kind of like him.
looks like such a fine American gentleman.
Yes.
This oak. We're definitely going to talk about that as well. Our very special guest on the show this morning is DemiLeigh Tebow. The book is called A Crown That Lasts. It gets quite personal. I mean, you share some really personal stories there, showing your vulnerability, which I think makes it more believable. Because especially when it comes to where your life was with being a Miss Universe and a Miss South Africa, it just seems like such a perfect life. I think most girls would just dream of that kind of life, right? You have a literal crown, and you have all those perks and people around you, and it's just and then it's like most things in life, it ends. But does it though? Aren't you like a Miss SA and a Miss Universe for life? Doesn't it give you a confidence boost second to none?
Martin, you think that it would, and of course that year was, I was so honored to be able to represent South Africa, especially as Miss Universe, and just getting to carry the South African flag all around the world. But it's still a full-time job, right? I think that's something that surprises a lot of people. It's a job, it comes with a 1-year contract, and that contract essentially expires and you can't really re-up for it.
Yes.
So, and I think something else that might surprise people is the time in my life where I felt the least confident is after I handed back that crown. I remember somebody once told me, Demi, if you win Miss Universe, everything will be perfect for the rest of your life. You'll have all these amazing opportunities, everything will be set for you. And that just isn't real life. That just isn't the case. It's, you still have to put in so much of the work. And I think there's so many preconceived ideas of what a Miss Universe is supposed to do with the rest of her life. And I tried fitting in that box, and man, when you try fit in that box, when you try fitting in, I think so much of fitting in is rooted in fear, when belonging is rooted in love. And I tried fitting in, and at the end of the day, you bend and you break so much. By the time you fit in, you're not yourself anymore. And so I really take a step back and understand, well, where do I actually belong in life? Who are the people that I belong with? What does the future look like for me?
I like that, the difference between fitting in and belonging.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yep. There's a big difference.
Yeah, then you explore that in the book as well. And then you met this lovely, was he a quarterback?
He was, yes.
Quarterback, but he played football and baseball.
He did.
That's the part that confused me. Because
I know.
You don't.
It's not very common, no.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, some people just have all
He
the
loves
talent.
a good challenge.
They take all the talent. Some people just take everything.
He played NFL, and then he went on after that to play baseball.
Yes.
And then he was good in that as well.
Well, I think so. The little that I know about baseball.
But he was really good football player. That's where he made a big name for himself.
Yes, he played in the NFL for a couple of years. He's a Heisman Trophy winner, which the first time I heard the name Heisman, I was like, which man? Who's that?
What's that?
So I realized it's a very prestigious award that gets awarded to one college football player per year. Oh, yeah. And so he won that very early on in his college career. And but regardless of that, Martin, we don't watch football in South Africa. Ek is a rugby girl.
That's right.
Go Bokke.
Dis seker 'n stormer, nee. Seker nou maar.
Ek is sommer maar net 'n bok.
Okay,
Kan
yes.
ek net dit sê?
Diplomatic.
Yes, dis reg. But now, how did you have to change your thinking? And was it a massive? Was 'n groot aanpassing om nou iewers skielik om so 'n karakter te wees? Larger than life, American quarterback, NFL player and stuff like that, because you were Miss Universe and famous in your own right, and then you marry a guy like Tim, and then people probably flock around him.
Like I said earlier, I think something I had to realize is my marriage is a vessel to live out my purpose. It's not purpose itself, right? And I think that's something that we both decided very early on. At the end of the day, I'm just Demi and he's just Tim to me. And he's my best friend, he's my husband, he's my confidant, you know, and that's who we are to each other. So to me, that's not really weird or something to adjust to. I mean, you know, seeing how much his country loves him is always so sweet to me. He's one of the most gentle, kindest, gracious people that I have ever met. He always has time for people. He always loves on people. He always looks out for people. And he really inspires me so much every single day. I mean, I'm really not just saying this because he's my husband, but he truly is a hero in my life. And just grateful for him.
You met through kindness, if you will.
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah, because he does a lot of work.
Yeah, so the Tim Tebow Foundation is based. We have a reach in over 90 countries up to date, and the motto and the mission of the Tim Tebow Foundation is to bring faith, hope, and love to those in their deepest, darkest hour of need. And we do that in multiple ways. One of the things that Tim has focused on long before we ever even met, and I think it's just one of the ways that our relationship, our paths were crossed or aligned rather before we ever even met in person, before I ever even knew his name. I had a little sister that was born with severe special needs, and she passed away in 2019, but through her life and her legacy and the work that the Tim Tebow Foundation does through a celebration called Night to Shine, which is a worldwide, let's call it a prom. I think people know what I say, but a worldwide celebration, right, for people with special needs and disabilities. And we have 4 in South Africa, and growing. So hopefully we get to have Night to Shine all around the country. So if anyone wants to get involved hosting a Night to Shine, let us know. We would love to have you be a part of it. And we roll out the red carpet and we crown each and every honored guest the king or the queen of the prom.
Yes,
because we want them to know not just how loved they are by us and how valued they are, but to know that in the God of this universe, they are royalty in his eyes.
I think it's significant coming from them.
Yeah.
Because they are the picture of, what's the word? Like the American dream.
Yes.
And then some.
Yeah.
It's this football quarterback and a Miss Universe. But they give the crowns to other people.
Yeah.
I think it's incredible. Kan die man al braai?
Wat?
Nee, Demi.
So wat doen jy?
King barbecue.
Kyk hierso nee.
Shame.
Bring hom volgende keer saam. Dat ons net vir hom net 'n paar. Dis nie so moeilik soos wat dit lyk nie.
No, I know. But you know, my dad came to visit a couple of years ago for the first time, and when he saw the gas fry, he nearly blew a gas. I had to go buy a whipper. I had to go find charcoal somewhere.
Well done.
But I will say, okay, Tim's not the greatest braai out there, but he loves a lamb choppy. So I find my lamb choppy. There's a Peter just about 45 minutes away from me. So he makes a great biltong, a lekker droewors, boerewors. And I mean, Tim came here to visit and he was eating biltong and droewors for breakfast, lunch and dinner. And he's like, Demi, I need to cut back because I'm eating so much meat. You don't realize, biltong's so addictive. So anyway, he would eat droewors. If I don't have biltong in the house, he's like, where?
Oom Pieter van Florida.
We are grateful.
Dis mos Florida.
I feel like I'm making Oom Pieter famous here. Sorry, Oom Pieter.
Yeah, I would say he's got to get his flowers.
Well done.
Florida though, oh that's nice. It sounds so idyllic. It's most daar waar Miami ook is en al 'n
Yes, but we're far from Miami. Miami is like a place on its own. Yeah, a little bit north. We're about 6 hours from Miami, so we are by the coast. So we live about 15 minutes from the beach, which is beautiful. My golden retriever loves the beach. And I don't like bathing him afterwards. That's a mess.
Is dit? Het jou hond 'n Suid-Afrikaanse naam of 'n Amerikaanse naam?
Nee, maar hulle het Engelse name, maar hulle verstaan baie mooi Afrikaans.
That's the word.
Just quickly and lastly, look, I'm not going to give the whole book away. You're going to have to get your hands on it.
Martin, you really did your homework, huh? I'm very impressed.
It was an easy read.
Oh,
I
thank
can
you.
tell you that. some books that people can bring in.
I'll tell you. Let me tell you something fun. So I published a book in America first, and my editor that I worked with actually ended up being a South African.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
She moved there for law school and ended up saying she's from Pretoria, and it was so fun getting to work with her. It was really awesome, and getting to publish a book in Afrikaans has been, I mean, just such an honor to have it in my, home language. It's net regtig 'n eer.
Quickly and finally, we don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to squeeze this in quickly. What do you mean with "be that girl"? I found that quite jarring. It's one of the later chapters. Chapters called "Be That Girl," and I think a lot of women would actually relate to this.
Felicity, when you hear "be that girl," you think, no, you probably mean don't be that girl, right?
Exactly. I'm sitting thinking,
just don't be the loud one. Don't make a fuss. Don't make a scene. Well, a couple years ago, a couple months after I won Miss South Africa, I was hijacked at Hyde Park Corner and held at gunpoint, tried getting away. Well, long story short, got out of that situation and nobody would stop to help me.
Unbelievable.
I was running up that, 5:30 in the afternoon, peak hour traffic, broad daylight. And I mean, obviously in South Africa, we are taught, don't get involved. Don't.
Yes.
But that was the most terrifying part. Wasn't surrounded by, multiple men with a gun pointing to my head. It was running up that avenue, knocking on car window after car window, and nobody would stop to help me.
I believe that.
That was totally the most traumatizing part of the whole incident. And, I ran past females, males, families in cars, and people were shooing me away from their windows. And eventually this young girl, she was 19 years old, had this old little car, and she just swerved over, nearly causing an accident, stopped, rolled down her little window. I mean, she literally had to, old little car, had to roll down the window and said, "Are you okay? Do you need help? Get in, get in, get in." And, that day, yes, she took me to safety. Yes, she got me out of that situation, because I remember running up that avenue, looking over my shoulder, not knowing if I'm being chased down, not knowing if I'm being shot in the back, not knowing if they're coming after me. Don't know their intentions. And she took me to a safe space that day, which I'm so thankful for, but she also opened my eyes to what it means to be that girl that is willing to be interruptible, because so easily in our lives we just want to wake up, do what we need to do today, and we don't have time. Like when I hear the word interruptible, it doesn't hit me the right way, it makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't want to be interrupted. I want to do what I'm set out to do today, and I don't want anyone bothering that plan that I have, right? But she served as a catalyst to me learning about so many women that are in need. And that hijack situation truly served as a catalyst in my life to learning about what women face in South Africa. It led me to starting my Unbreakable campaign, where I hosted workshops to empower women all over South Africa, and that ended up going to different countries. In the US, we just had one last year, and that snowballed into me learning about something I didn't know existed a couple years ago, which is the fight against human trafficking and child exploitation. And it's one of the things that I am so honored to be working alongside my husband, hand in hand, to be able to fight and combat that. And it's such a big evil that we face in our world. There's an estimated 50 million people that are trapped in human trafficking as we speak, which is unfathomable. You can't even think about it. And then you ask me, well, how are you going to make a dent? And firstly, I'll tell you, by going after that one more person, just like that girl came after me. I was her one more. We can all have a one more.
By the way, before I let you go,
it's very beautiful.
The current Miss SA also grew up not far from where you grew up, Mia. What are your thoughts? Do you like to know her? Have you met?
I think I'm getting to meet her. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I think I'm getting to meet her at one of my book launches this week. So I'm very excited. I haven't met her yet, but I'm very excited to get to give her a hug and just share a little bit of my story with her, hopefully. So very excited for her. I think Miss Universe is around the corner, so I'm sure she's in heavy prep mode and very locked in and focused at the moment. So
where was yours?
Mine was actually in the US, in Las Vegas. So it was my first time ever in the United States, was Las Vegas and then New York City. So if you've ever traveled to the US, you know that those are just everything just feels bigger and great. Even the cars, not just something really to get used to. But
it's bigger than Sedgefield.
It's a little, just a tiny bit, just a tiny bit.
This Miss
one
Universe,
more traffic light.
Yes. Was it Steve Harvey? Wasn't it? He was more the MC when you were still doing
Yes, he did. He
Does he
was
still
the
do
host.
it?
I don't know. I don't know if they still have the same. There's been a big change of ownership in the
Oh,
last few years, so I'm not fully sure. But he definitely hosted when I was. I think I tried to make a joke about Safari with him, and it just didn't hit. Didn't land at all.
Oh, no.
And I was like, okay, well, I'll just go sit in my corner. But he's such a nice guy.
He
Very,
likes
very
South
nice
Africa.
guy.
He's been out a few times.
Oh,
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, what's
good.
Safari?
what is there not to love, you
Exactly.
know? What is there not to love?
And his famous line was, what is his famous line? Take your first steps as, doesn't he say, like, when they crown you, take your first steps?
Oh, yes, take your first walk as Miss Universe.
As Miss Universe.
So,
I hope the new person says that as well.
yeah.
Good luck to Mia.
Yes.
That's very, there's,
So excited for her.
Is it no.
Mexico.
Is it Mexico?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
She put
Because
that.
remember, Margaret Gardner also won hers in Mexico, and she was saying
Oh,
that.
that's so sweet.
Yes.
That's very
Well,
sweet.
there's the omen. We had
Yes.
Margaret Gardner on the
Hey.
show
In
last
studio.
week.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have Demi in studio this week.
Yeah.
We had Mia in studio between the two of you, I think.
It's a sign.
It's a sign.
Oh.
It's a sign.
Yes.
We'll take it.
Very excited.
Here's
for
the
her.
deal. When Mia takes Miss Universe, y'all three, wait,
Can you imagine?
need to invite us over to come.
That is exactly what I was. Yeah.
Well, you're gonna yeah. Then we get to choose between Florida, California.
Yeah, and probably New York. I'm not sure where they stay, but yes.
California wins, but Florida
It's a
seems
far
lovely.
flight. Florida's much closer.
Listen, all the love. Tell Tim, your husband, 'n lekker Suid-Afrikaanse haas dit van ons en al die rugby fans hierso. Miskien moet hy so 'n paar passes en skoppe moet doen. You never know. He's still young enough, eh? You can draft him into the Bulls.
To the Bulls.
Somewhere along the line. Liefde, jou en jou familie en jy. And
Dankie.
thanks for popping in. And congrats on a lekker read and a lekker book. It is out now. It's called A Crown That Lasts.
Baie dankie
DemiLeigh
julle.
Tebow. Dis
Dankie
lekker
almal,
gewees.
dit was so lekker. Lekker dag vir julle almal. Dankie vir die luister.
Breakfast with Martin Bester.